Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Isarius. Thank you for hanging out here with me today. So, first things first. I'm going to be kind of structuring this video in a sort of what questions I get most often sort of manner. So, you know, I've been streaming Godfall and I've had a lot of people come in asking me questions, various questions about the game. And I thought I wanted like some of the more popular ones and I think some of the ones I think are the more important ones and sort of discuss them in this video. Partly just have something to easily point people to when they ask me those questions, on stream. So let's get right into the first topic. So, so this is definitely the question I get the most, right? What Valor plate should I play? I get this question all the time. And, well, the answer is pretty simple. Anyone you want. Like, seriously, just go through, once you get the shard system unlocked, just sort of go quick through the shards of all the plates have, and just sort of pick out which one wants to be, which one, is the most interesting to you, and just go. It's not that hard to craft a Valor plate, so even if you end up not liking your choice that much, it won't take you too long to make another one. That said, I think more often than not, when people ask what Valor plate they should play, what they're really asking is which Valor plate is easiest to play, or which Valor plate is easiest to build, right? And I think generally, for a beginner, I think the simplest Valor plate for you to build is going to be Interqual. Now, Interqual is the crit-based Valor plate. So all his shards are based around doing crit damage, or in some way or another, and his passives are based around crits as well. And so it's pretty simple to build him. You stack as much crit as you can. He has a very easy to use armament layout. He's got this colorless one in the center, which people typically put Carnage in, and then he's got two of each color around it. So it's very simple to build him, and there's not really anything you have to learn. There's no mechanics you need to learn, or like how does helmet power and duration work for like consume builds and stuff like that. It's very simple. You stack crit. And that's why I think I would recommend Interqual most to a new player. He's a very strong frame, he's very easy to build, very easy to understand, and to top it off, he has some really, really strong shards. And more importantly, some really fun shards. This Way of the Wolf shard is perhaps my favorite shard in the game. It's really fun. If you've ever played Path of Exile, playing this kind of feels like playing an auto bomber in Path of Exile. And it's really, really fun. But yeah, that's I think and there's a couple other frames like Aegis Horn here is another pretty good like beginner friendly plate in my opinion. He's just like survivability plate basically, right? He's got some other stuff, he's just got survivability stuff, right? If you find yourself struggling, you're dying more than you'd like, you can maybe grab Aegis Horn and sort of make an Aegis Horn build. But yeah, so I think that really about covers it. It really is just, pick a plate and go, right? Like I said, it's pretty easy to make another one, but I think if you're really looking for an early game, biggest bang for your buck sort of thing, Interqual is probably the best option here. Maybe not, but I think Interqual is a good suggestion here. Anyways, that's going to be it for this topic. Alright, so the next topic of the video is how to make a build, or what should you be focusing on in a build as a new player. So this is a question I get a lot more often in the form of someone like, I'm struggling in the Ascended Tower, what am I doing wrong, or what can I do to, make things easier? Like basically, how should I make a decent build? Like how should I start making a good build? So as a new player, so this is obviously not going to be a build video, but let's get into some of the more basic stuff that's just like really important. And I notice a lot of players, I've seen a lot of newer players sort of ignore this overhealth mechanic, right? I've had quite a few people mention, they're struggling, and I'm like, okay, well, how much overhealth are you building? And they're like, what's overhealth? So This is going to be like one of your primary ways of building survivability, or adding extra survivability to your build, right? Other than just simply building resistances and stacking vitality. Overhealth is going to be one of the best ways to keep you alive. So, in case you don't know, let's quick view of overhealth, right? So overhealth is pretty simple. Based on whatever source of overhealth you have, a really common source of overhealth is critical hits. Let me just spawn in an enemy here that I can actually show you this on. So a really common source of overhealth generation is critical hits, right? So as you can see, as I'm hitting the enemy, I'm building a green bar on the bottom left there above my regular health bar, and it's slowly draining, as you can see. So that's your overhealth, right? So it works exactly as you might have suspected it does. If you take a hit, you'll take the damage from the overhealth first. Very simple. Now how you build overhealth is also pretty simple. There are a couple augments and a couple items that are really good for it. So perhaps one of the most common things in terms of like actual gear here is going to be the combo of the Duskcore Signet and Wise Embrace. So as you can see, Duskcore Signet expose enemy weak points when you're inflicting elements, and weapon techniques inflict elements. This is a pretty good effect in general. Being able to inflict elements with your weapon techniques is very nice for a lot of builds, but it also happens to pair particularly well with Wise Embrace, gaining 112, or in this case 112 overhealth whenever you hit a weak point, and you get a nice little chunk of retention as well. And you can see in the substats, I've got overhealth gained, I've got some retention, and I've got some resistances there. So this is going to be sort of the one of the basic ways you can generate overhealth, right? But perhaps the stronger way is going to be the legendary augment Void Shell. So this is a primal version. The base version is, I think, 7, or it varies a bit, right? It varies a little bit. But yeah, 7, 8. There's a bit of variance here, but basically you can grab yourself a Void Shell, you can slot this in, and for every 20 might on the augments surrounding the Void Shell, you gain some overhealth on critical hit. Another option that doesn't rely on augments being around it is the focus augment. It's a red augment, might augment, I should say. It costs only 5, and you can just slot this in, and you gain a nice little chunk of overhealth whenever you perform a critical hit. And these are sort of the most basic, most common ways of generating overhealth. There are some other ways, but generally it's not worth going out of your way to invest in the other ways, and they're either not as consistent or they have a cooldown of some kind. Yeah, generally the best ways is going to be Void Shell, Focus, and then Duskcore Signet and Wise Embrace. Another pretty decent option for rings, especially for whatever reason you don't want to use a Duskcore Signet, is an Eye of the Dragon. If you get an element afflicted enemy, you gain overhealth, you gain a good chunk of retention, and you get the weapon techniques inflict elements line as well. Very good ring. Not as good as Wise Embrace plus Duskcore Signet, but if for whatever reason you're kind of struggling, for example, if you want to run a consume build or something, and you need to run the Heavenly Reversal Ring or something else like that, and you need overhealth generation, but you also need that weapon techniques, you can run Eye of the Dragon instead. Now, as for building beyond that, that's very frame by frame or plate by plate sort of a thing, right? So we were talking about Hintercall earlier. He's a crit frame. You build crit damage and crit chance. Every frame has their own thing. For example, Mesa is the poison consumed frame. It's kind of her whole shtick. So you're going to want to build elements and consume on her. And every plate is going to be different on how you build it. And like I said before, this is not going to be a build video, so we're not going to go into any of that. I just wanted to mainly talk about overhealth because overhealth is very strong, and it's something I see a lot of newer players kind of passing on or just kind of sleeping on, right? Let's get into the next topic of the video. Alright, so we're going to make this kind of the last main section of the video, and I kind of feel like this is kind of the most important stuff, at least that I really want to talk about in this video. But we were talking about all that stuff just a moment ago, right? all this stuff for like over health gaining. But you might be wondering, well, okay, well, where do I even get any of this stuff, right? Like, where do I even get any of this stuff? And you know, what should I even be looking for? So we talked about Wise Embrace. We've talked about the Duskcord Signet, right? We talked about Void Shell. We've talked about Focus, but we haven't talked about where you get any of this stuff, right? So the main source as a new player of sort of farming these things is going to be Dreamstones, particularly volatile Dreamstones. Standard Dreamstones also work just fine. But the volatile Dreamstones has some modifiers that's going to make it a lot easier to do some farming, right? So basically, the way Dreamstones work is, let me just start one up here. Let me just grab one. Let's not use one. Let's just purchase this Kragani Dreamstone. So you get the Dreamstone. So you've got stability and you've got lucidity. You use lucidity for this Dreamstone shaping thing. So here you see you've got a list of rewards, right? If I had the lucidity, I could say purchase this augment reward. And every time I completed a Dreamstone mission, not just the boss battle, by the way, but every time I completed one of these Dreamstone missions, I would get, in this case, a random augment, a rare augment specifically. Or if I bought dual blades, I get one rare dual blades, and you can upgrade this in both the quality, so it'd go to epic and legendary, and the quantities, so like 2. I think it just goes up to 2. It's been a while since I did any Dreamstone farming, alright? And then every time you complete one of these Dreamstone missions, let's say you upgraded to 2 legendary dual blades. Every mission you did, you get 2 legendary dual blades, right? But where this really comes in handy is farming for specific items. So, for example, we were just talking about is Wise Embrace and the Duskcord Signet. So, if you wanted to farm for these, I think you could actually say, go to the Dreamstone Saving, and you can look for weak point items, like a weak point reward. And I believe that would actually have both of those items. I'm not going to go through all that stuff right now. I just mostly want to explain the methods of farming. But I believe that would actually give you the option of finding both of these. I'm not 100% certain that the weak point reward includes Wise Embrace, but it might. But for example, you could, be farming for over health items, and that can drop you a Void Shell, drop you a Focus, and rather than go through all that, I kind of want to talk about what are the most important items to farm, now that I've kind of mentioned where you get them. I'm trying to keep this video relatively short, so I don't want to go through too much stuff. So there is a couple items that are really important in the early game, and one of them is, you actually saw a legendary version of it there, but I'm trying to find an epic version. I should have sorted this better. So yeah, here we go, is Sieves. So this is kind of one of an epic longsword you can get pretty early, and it's really strong because its primary effect is very good. So what the Greater Blessing of Luck does, it gives you a 30% crit chance buff just for applying an element. And if you, for example, also have a Duskcord Signet, every time, so as you can see, this sword I'm in right here is a double primary weapon, but it has that effect, right? So if I go back out here to the training room real quick, you'll notice that when I use my northern technique or my southern technique, I get the Greater Blessing of Luck. That luck plus for 15 seconds in the bottom left there. So that's a 30% crit chance buff, right? This is really strong, and this is probably one of the first items you should be focusing on getting early in your farming, right? That include, and Duskcord Signet, Wise Embrace, Void Shell. These are all kind of really nice key items that you want to kind of try to get as fast as you can. And the main way you get those is in Dreamstones. Now, there are a few other items. The Lion Talisman is perhaps one of the best items in the game. It has gotten nerfed. It's not as good as it used to be, but this is still a really good, strong item. When you perform a crit, you get weapon technique charge and weapon technique charge speed for 5 seconds. Really strong item. I really recommend you get one of these. There are a couple of really useful amulets, like this one's going to be really nice for new players. And I mean, I still rely on a lot to this day. It's just a nice little safety net of keeping you alive once, right? There are a couple of other useful ones, like for example, let's see if I can find it. Grandmaster Station is a very good amulet. Like a weakness, the mark of weakness makes enemies do less damage and can be a really nice layer of survivability. But either Amulet of Betrayer works just fine as well. But yeah, so Dusklord's Signet, Wise Embrace, Eye of the Dragon, Sieves, and Wood Shell, and the Focus Augment are kind of some of the most important early game items to be looking for. And like I said, Dreamstones are the best place to find them. And honestly, that's kind of really all I wanted to talk about this video. I don't want this to drag on too long. I kind of just want to cover some of the really basic stuff, the kind of stuff I see the most. I think my main advice for a new player, if you're struggling, is I guess just to be patient. So, you know, as a new player, and if you're trying to, like, for example, rush into the Ascended Tower, you know, generally to go through the Ascended Tower comfortably, you need a pretty good build. I mean, you need a decent build. And for the Exalted Tower, you need a really, really good build, right? My advice would be to not rush and just sort of slowly farm your way through your Dreamstone levels. You know, eventually you can farm your Volatile Dreamstones all the way up to level 70. Focus on getting those key items I mentioned earlier, and just take your time. Don't worry if you're struggling. If you're struggling, that just means you probably need to spend some more time farming for items. So just, you know, take it easy, relax a bit. And I think that's going to be about it for this video. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you guys in the next one.